Members of the company, this is your Places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Sharna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher. And no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock
number. And we are Charnopher.
You're on
Air.
I was being so good at that intro.
Yes.
I wasn't talking. I wasn't distracted.
Yeah, you've been doing so well lately.
Well, thank you, Christopher. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
You know, everybody works to improve, and you're doing a great job.
Considering in our last episode, I lost my mind. I think you're crying, laughing, and I think people just checked out. So maybe today we'll hold it together.
Maybe. No promises.
No promises.
Promises.
Hi, Sharna fans.
Hello. So as Sharna had teased in our last episode, she really wanted to talk about standardized testing or testing in general today. Yes. And so that's what we're going to do, because we like to try to follow through whenever we can.
And honestly, I sort of, when we decided, hey, we'll talk about that since we mentioned it, I'm excited to talk about it. I also want to just give a disclaimer. We've both been in education for a long time. We both have kids, but I'm in no way an expert in one way or the other. But I think, and I hope that our listeners will appreciate a parent's perspective and a teacher's perspective. That's all I'm going for here.
Yeah. Neither one of us have any background in this. This is just life experience opinions coming at you.
100%. 100%. So I think one of the biggest things, Christopher, is test taking when we were younger, when we were in high school. It has changed. It has changed very much. But I think I want to start with just school and education in general has changed a lot since we were in high school. And I talk, especially, academically, I talk to a lot of my students. The pressure, the workload. I was a very high achieving, overachieving, dedicated student. I wanted that A. My mom couldn't have cared less. She was like, take a free day, come to the beach with me. I'm like, I have a test. I was that kid, but I never in a million years thought ever, oh my gosh, if I don't get straight A's, if I don't get a 4.0, I won't go to college, or I'm not worth anything. Like some of these kids, if they do not get these crazy grades, they feel like they can't be anybody or do anything. And testing correlates very much so to that grade right now, right, in school for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
And not even just like SAT, ACT. Colleges are starting to change their tune on that a little bit. There are some universities and colleges that you can submit those scores, but some don't require them anymore. And
correct.
I actually support that. I think you do. Same. Yeah. I
do support that.
I've seen enough students where I know how intelligent they are. I know how creative they are. I know they know material. And they are just not good test takers.
Yeah.
And that is sad to think like, oh my gosh, this individual who could really excel in this class and have really great grades is struggling because they don't take tests well. And I don't think that's fair. And I think we have learned a lot. And I'm not saying no testing. I'm not saying no testing.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
think there needs to be some revision to that system.
Well, and it's tricky because I don't think like with many things, there's not an easy answer. But I think with so much of our education system, and you and I have talked a lot, Sharna, about it, where we're in this time of accommodation for better or
Mhm.
worse.
Mhm.
And many times it is for worse, to be honest, in our opinion.
Yeah.
Or at least in my opinion. I'll speak for you.
You can. You know me
and-
well enough.
And so I think, where is the useful and helpful accommodation in this aspect? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I know all this material conceptually, but I forgot that, that World War II ended in, I thought it ended in 1942 instead of like 1945, right?
Right.
Like, is that really judging anything useful? No.
Right. 100%. And I think as we, I don't want to speak for you, but I will speak for you. as I get older, as we get older, I really I have lots of conversations with my own kids, even Sebastian in 6th grade. Like, why do I have to learn this, Mom? And part of me wants to be
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't think you should. But I think there is something to be said about working that part of your brain, right? So
Yeah.
as your brain is growing, as you're learning, as you're what's the word? Maturing. It's important for your brain to work those muscles. It's important to do that kind of stuff. I think when you get to a certain age, in high school in particular, I really, really, and some of my teacher friends might hate me for this if you're listening, I really disagree with students having to take certain subjects in high school. I don't understand. I never, ever in 1 million years ever wanted to do anything with science. And even if I had changed my mind, that's when I should have taken those classes. I don't understand why kids are taking chemistry at a crazy level. I think basic, like fun chemistry is important, right? You understand the basics, but these kids are learning stuff. Calculus. I took AP calculus in high school.
Yeah.
If you ask me one thing about calculus, I'm going to tell you kickball change. I don't know. I passed it with an A+. I got an A double plus. I passed the AP test, but for what? It got me out of taking math in college. Yes. But like these kids, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think it's bad. I just think like, how about we give them a class in how to budget? How about we give them a class in like savings and investing? How about we give them a class in, I don't know, how to do things that are life skills?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. I'm like, you knowing how to do a derivative, if that's even how you say it.
Yes.
Is
and it's
not really
it's
that helpful to me paying the rent.
Right. Now, it might be. I have a great story, and he won't care if I use his name. But I have a former student, Jeffrey, who is in college now, and he had to have I might get it wrong. It's either like biomechanical engineering, something along those lines. He had to take something science and crazy and cool. And he had to take an exam remotely, and I had to proctor it. And I was like,
I remember that.
Yeah. And when he turned it in, I looked at it and I was like, he is Einstein. Like, what is this that he has written all over this paper? Like, it was crazy. But that's because he wants to go into a field and a career where it's really important to know this information. 100% support that. And I know kids in high school don't know, but that's what college is for. Like, why are kids at 15 years old, like, maybe they just aren't math peeps. Maybe they don't math well, So like, cut them some slack. Or maybe they don't write well. They're not good writers. So again, I think it's important. And then we can also chat GPT conversation on this this episode as well.
Yeah.
But I think there has to be a happy medium, right? I want them to be exposed to different concepts and different fields and different ideas. But at what level?
Right.
Right?
Right. Well, you know what? They can take all the English classes in the world and still manage to not be able to write an email, as we've talked about. And it's like, what?
Yes.
You graduated high school and you can't compose a simple
Right.
email in
We know
English?
several people like that. Yeah.
Several
Yes.
dozen probably. And yeah, it's just kind of cuckoo. I think it's a tricky thing because I think a lot of those classes should be offered for people that know that they're going into a field like that.
Yeah.
But to have
Or
them
you may
be-
possibly, right? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
kids at 16 really, they know what they like, they know what they want. But like, hey, if you're thinking any chance at all that you may want to try, like, this is your option. And if you don't, that's okay. We have another option. And then you can do that in college, you know?
But also, like,
Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say that with the way that at least I know things are going at even just specifically OSHA, there's more of these dual enrollment classes and things like that. And I think my brother in high school ended up taking, I think it was Calculus 2 independent study from a college during high school.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's other opportunities. Not everybody needs to take calculus.
Yeah.
We don't need
And I also think
I
like,
dropped out of AP calculus, just saying, because I got
and guess what?
I
You're
took
okay.
it.
You're
Yeah.
okay.
And I took it the first semester and I'm like, what? Why am I working this hard for math? I already knew I was going to be a music major. I was like, what am I doing?
I think it's important. I would hope that kids get exposed to kids need to learn science. I'm not saying they don't need to learn science or math. They do. Even Sebastian and Ruby. Why do I need to learn this? Like, I can just do it on my computer. Why do I need to learn? I'm like, because it's important for you to understand these basic concepts. It's important. I would still need to use a calculator or some sort of electronic device to do certain math things. I can't, no one's long-handing with a charcoal bit. Like, come on, people. Like, we have like the technology. Do you know what I'm saying?
Charcoal bit. I'm stuck on charcoal bit.
I just think it's, and it's even more crazy with like the Common Core math thing that we've talked about. Like,
Don't even get me started.
The extent that they have to go to. But I tell Sebastian, like, even in you're not going to know, but like in cooking, in building something, in things that we do around the house, is my couch going to fit in here? What can fit on this side? How do I do this? Yeah. It's really, Jerry loves building. He does a lot of building, and there's so much math that goes into that. And I know the kids see that when he does things like that. Yeah. And so I think even if you can do it on a computer or a calculator, I tell Sebastian, your brain still needs to understand the basic concept of how it works in order to move forward to that next step, you know?
Yeah. The actual calculation, great, use a calculator for it, but you're not going to be able to like, hey, calculator, can you tell me if my couch fits? Now, I know we're sort of headed there.
Exactly.
But there's still people that are going to have to program that.
Yes, 100%. I also think the term mastery learning has been thrown around a lot at our school and over the last couple of years. And I think that is a really great concept. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like implemented into academic classes. But for instance, in a class that we might teach, for instance, my broadcast journalism class, maybe one of my students isn't great on camera. Maybe they really don't do well standing up and being on the camera. I should not be grading that student based on their final performance on camera. There should be a holistic grade of, did they understand the concepts when we were checking them throughout this lesson, throughout this unit? How was their writing? What did they, like, it can't be all based around one thing. We have to have checkpoints along the way that are also, I think, included.
I agree up to a point, and I think where I get stuck on is in any sort of performative industry, if you can't do it, you can't do it. So if you are bad on camera, you're not going to be hired unless you're in like Wichita, Kansas, like suburb number 5.
However,
where 3 people watch the news.
that is great. I think when you're going to be getting a job or when you're going to be, but like, or even at a college level. But I think at a younger level, like, okay, my kids have art at their school. They have a really great visual art program. Sebastian, not an art child. He'll play any sport you ask him to.
Yes.
He got his mom's visual art ability. He should not
Hey,
be
we love a stick
graded. Hey, I can rock that. I don't think
That's
he
right.
should be graded on the quality, right? If Sally's next to
I
him
got you.
and she's Van Gogh, I think that the
Mhm.
effort's important, and that technically is performative. Now, if he's trying to go be in an art gallery, hey friend, stick
Yeah.
figures don't have any place here. You get a 0, goodbye. But I think in the education system, there has to be a balance. But I do agree with you in performative
agree.
stuff. But like, look at math or science. If a kid cannot do, a page of 20 equations, does it mean they don't understand the concept? Does it? I don't know. Is there another way to gauge that?
That's the tricky thing, is I'm not sure there is, because it's one of those things. If I give you a problem, if you know the concepts, you should know how to solve it. Now, where
Yeah.
I get hung up, and some people read, and my brother and I have talked a lot about this. He, when you're with math, so there's some people that, like, you have to show your work or you get like reduced points. I don't agree with that. I'm like, if you choose not to show your work and you get the wrong answer, 0 points. However, if you show your work, you should be able to get most credit. Like, if you're like,
Yeah.
great, if they did the
Ooh,
process
I
correctly.
see what you're saying. Yeah. And then like, oh, they missed this step and that led them to the wrong
Yeah.
answer. But look, they got
So, like,
8 out of the
4
9
out of
steps
5.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that should be
I
almost
agree with
full
that
credit.
too.
Just because you didn't get the right answer. Yes, you didn't get the right answer, but you understand the concept.
You know what I
Like,
think is something I like that they do at OSHA, and they might do it at other schools too. They allow for test corrections in a lot of classes. And I really like that. So they take a test and then they see what they got wrong. And then they allow them to come back in and have a second try. Like, for that purpose, exactly, I think. Like, you're on the right track.
yeah.
Can you see where you made the mistake? And I think that's how you learn. If you just get, that was wrong, and not a, hey, it was good until this point, and then it, especially with math,
Yeah.
being given a second
Yeah.
chance to like figure out where you went sideways.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the standardized testing, I always think like, I guess
Well,
I've never been on a college board. I've never like had to look at
Yeah.
applications or how the selection process.
mhm.
I there's got to be some sort of gauge of their intellect, because certain colleges are very rigorous and you need to ensure that
Yeah.
that student's going to be successful there.
Right.
So I don't know what that looks like. Your grades,
Well,
your transcript.
well, that's the thing, is I'm like, I feel like that's going to be theoretically more of an indicator, but the tricky thing is, as I found out, different districts, different schools, different states work that differently.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we have a standard of everyone. If you get in 90%, there's like unspoken standards, but there's no rule that's like in federal education law, whatever, that says 90% is an A.
Yeah.
And and an A is worth this many points. And then with
Yeah.
AP testing, it inflates GPAs or AP classes, like you get extra points. And it's
Right.
like, what about human number 5 in Podunk Town, Illinois, that doesn't have
Yep.
any AP classes?
And or human number 5 here, where they've made the decision that extracurricular activities and being a well-rounded person is more important to them than taking
Yeah.
9 AP classes. And that's what I see
Yeah.
happening with a lot of our students. I have to take all the AP classes so it inflates my GPA so I can get into college. And I also want to be in the show and in mock trial and in basket weaving and all the things. It's like
Is it underwater basket weaving, though?
underwater basket weaving. But it's true, right? So like, if you take regular English, you're like a loser.
Yeah.
Like, it makes
Yeah.
me sad. Like, not even honors, or like, if you don't take AP, you're like, I think these kids just feel so, well, I did really well in that English class, which is what I'm supposed to take to graduate from high school. And now I have like a normal person GPA and I suck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. So with that, it's like we do have to have some sort of standard that everybody can be put against to compare people, because it's just so
Yeah.
tricky. But I
Yeah.
mean, I overall disagree with the concept of standardized testing. Just putting that out there. I just don't have a better answer. So until I do, I won't
Yeah.
complain too much.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that there somebody will come up with a better answer and some sort of revision. I think that might
Yeah.
happen. I think that might happen. What I was going to talk to you also about was homework. So we had a conversation, I don't know, a little while ago. I actually am not a fan of homework. I don't like homework. I don't think kids should have to do homework. My kids at their school, they have homework, but they are actually given quite a bit of time in class to do the work. And then whatever they don't finish, they do at home, but it's still not
Right.
a ton of hours. I also think kids should be given I don't think homework should be graded, because what if, okay, for instance, I'll use dance since that's something I'm very, very familiar with. It's not the same as math, but okay, you need to go home and you need to do all this vocabulary sheet for ballet. Why? I already know all of this. You could test me on it. You could test me on it in French. You could test me on it with my eyes closed. You could test me on it doing this. I know it. So why do I need to do this homework assignment? I think that there should be, hey, if this math concept is tricky for you, this is the homework. And I'm your teacher, and I'm letting you know that if you don't do this homework and you don't do this work, you might not understand this concept when it comes time to evaluate the comprehension.
Yeah.
Hey, but Sally, you learned this concept last year. You got this. I've seen you do it in class. You don't need to do this homework assignment. I think it's just a waste of their time sometimes. And it takes away the amount of homework some of these kids have at our school is like terrifying.
It's stupid. It's stupid.
And then they're not sleeping. And then they're like uber stressed, and then it piles on, and things as kids that they should be doing, spending time with their friends, spending time with their families, participating in fun, creative, like that kind of stuff is so important to any human, but definitely a young human being who's growing and learning and needs to experience things, you know?
Yeah.
They need more time.
I totally agree. And like, I think homework should be essentially, it should be graded, but only to the point of feedback, not to the point of credit.
I like that.
So like, because you do need to know whether you're doing it correctly. Because if you do this entire homework assignment and it's wrong, then you just practice this completely incorrectly and nobody tells you. But
yeah, that's not cool.
It needs to be graded for a grade on completion.
And also maybe there's like a scale or some sort of like, you're not required to do this homework until, you didn't get this didn't happen in class for you today, so now you're on the homework train, right? Like there's some sort of like something.
And
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think essentially homework, again, I was just talking to this with my brother. There was a class he took in college where homework was essentially extra credit. So it was like your whole grade is your tests. So if you are great and understand the concepts and can take the tests and get an A, perfect for you. If you think you might be on the struggle bus and be like, I really need to practice this a lot, you will be, and I'm not going to test super well, then the homework is literally just going to help your grade, because it's going to be like, hey, I did this homework. I learned how to do it by practicing it, and it's going to raise my grade if I don't do well on the test.
I actually really like that concept. And I think, like I had a lot of classes in college that were test based, and there were people I remember. I liked school. I liked going to class. I liked being there, but there were some people that wouldn't come to class, and then they just show up and take the test. And on the test day, I'd be like, who's this? Like, who are you? But they had just been like doing their reading. Maybe they're small geniuses. I don't know, but they would just come in and take the test because they knew that was like being present, doing discussions or being part of the group. Like that's what learning is to me. But to some people, they just want the grade. And so they're like, I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not here until I need to take the test. Okay. So that brings me to time and energy. So your kids are homeschooled. Well, Grayson is, I know. Amelia's still a
Yeah.
little one.
Yeah.
I have always, from the second I met somebody who homeschooled, been so curious as to how someone can get the same education homeschooled and get the same certification at a quarter of the time. I always am like, then what in the world are these children doing in school all day long?
Correct.
That's why they shouldn't have homework. If they're in school twice as long as a homeschool kid and they still have homework, what are we doing?
No.
Like, no, my kids
Nope.
don't. That's why I think I really enjoy the school my kids are at, because I do think they utilize the time they are on campus to have them do their work. Their homework is very minimal, but not at our school, not at most public schools. Their homework is a lot.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Coloring a map?
The wrong map. Thank you, history teacher. And I think the thing about homeschool that is the difference is the individualized education aspect, meaning Grayson won't be able to learn the same way he would in a classroom because there's 25 other children, and the teacher cannot give him the focus and the learning style that he needs to be most successful. So you're going to automatically gain time by working with someone individualized. And because of that, you can be like, hey, Grayson, who is a math whiz, like literal math whiz already. I'm like he does it for fun, but beyond that, we don't have to spend 30 minutes on math. Like we can skip that this week. Or maybe he's behind in reading, so we read a little extra this week. But you can also accomplish the goals in, and it's a more holistic approach. So maybe one day you only do 10 minutes of school, especially at this age, and then one day maybe you do more like an hour a day. But 6 hours, 7 hours at school, and you have 3 hours of homework. Are you insane? Are you insane?
And again, I would even like, so my kids it's like 6 hours at school. Now they have PE, they have music, they have art,
recess,
things at lunch. They have 2 recesses at my kids' school, which I love. I am like, get the kids outside, have them play. I think there is a really great balance at my kids' school. It's one of the things I really like. And like I said, Sebastian being in 6th grade, our school that we work at starts like next year for him. And I see how much homework these 7th graders have. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, unless there's some sort of crazy change at our school, at Sebastian's school, that he has homework, they have projects, they have things like that, but it's not like so insane. And I just, and I don't think that's a teacher thing. I think it's a state and government education thing that our teachers are having to check these boxes. I've talked to a handful of our academic teachers where they're like, we barely have enough time in the classroom to cover what they're requiring for the AP standards. So they have to do stuff at home. And that's where I'm like, how? Why? Like, why is there so much content? 6 hours? I mean, I know they're not doing one class for 6 hours, but you know what I'm saying? Like, then maybe it needs to be revised because, I am not, I think it's very important for kids to learn history. History is a great one, as long as they include everything in history and we don't leave some things out.
Ding dong.
I think it's important for kids to learn like a lot of the science stuff that like you learn in 5th and 6th grade. I love when Sebastian comes home and he's like, Mom, did you know this? And I'm like, I did in 5th grade and now I remember it. Thank you for reminding me. But it's like cool concepts of things that, it's fun. And I think as it grows in high school, I just wish there was a little more give and take with it. It just keeps growing into this like such a demanding environment.
Well, again, I think it just sort of goes back. I think everything needs to be refocused on to practical application through that lens. Like it needs to be truly like, how is this going to help you function in life? And if you want to be a biochemist, you're going to need to take some bio and some chemistry. You're going to need to do that to be successful.
And we support that. One thing that I'm very proud of at our school in conservatory, and we had Shannon on or was that last week? We had Shannon on, whenever that was.
2 weeks ago.
the well-being class that I implemented into our
Mhm.
curriculum, and I know there's a few other conservatories that do it as well, with this sort of shift in the demands and the stress and all this stuff educationally with kids in general, like that is a class I think they all should have. They all need like some sort of meditation class every day. They all need
Yeah.
coping strategies. They need problem solving skills. They don't need
Yeah.
what's the derivative of the something, that is going to help some of them as they move into whatever field and
Yeah.
whatever employment
Exactly.
and workforce. But the majority of them are going to need those other skills. How do you
Yeah.
solve a conflict? How do you have a discussion with a colleague or a friend that you don't agree with? How do you move forward from disappointment? How do you do time management? All of these things that, like, I think parents maybe originally were, I almost said in the olden days, like an old person, were originally in charge of maybe
Back
like
in the day.
when I was young. Parents don't do that. I mean, I try, but most parents don't.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that it would be such a great skill for them to, like, for students to see, oh, look, my teacher places value on this just as
Mhm.
much as they place value on me getting an A on my chemistry test. They value my well-being. That doesn't mean go be a lazy person, not at all, but learning some strategies, I mean, the disappointment. Jerry uses the word grit. He's like, kids don't have grit anymore. You know,
That's so
they don't
true.
know how to like bounce back from things. They don't know how to move forward and problem solve. And they're very just like, what's happening to me? Somebody help me. And you're like, you're fine.
We
You just
thought
gotta be
our
on
generation was the snowflake generation, and yet here we are.
Yeah, I know. I have a feeling it's going to start sort of bouncing back the other way. It's going to take a while.
I agree.
But I do think we're starting to see, and I know we've talked about it too. Sebastian and I were just having a conversation in the car yesterday morning about when he gets to have a phone, because he doesn't have a phone yet. And I think he said everyone in his class except for him and one other person have phones. And so we had a great discussion about it. But I think we're starting to see parents giving their kids, like, holding off on phones, holding off on social media, because we've now seen, right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be this shift. I think we're going to see a lot of these kids having major anxiety and depression and nervous breakdowns because they're overwhelmed, overloaded. They do not have strategies to help them work through this stuff. And so we're going to sort of see this swing back to that focus. I hope.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be something like that. It'll be some sort of pushback eventually.
Like, what would
Swing
that
back.
class be, Christopher? Like a learn to have a conversation, write an email. What are your, like even the kids that come in to talk with
It's
me,
just-
we have great kids, but like even some of the kids, I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, don't just come on it. We're just having a conversation. What is it you need? Like, they don't even know how to be like, hey, Mrs. Lopez, here's the issue I'm having. Can you help me with it? Like, they're frozen.
Yeah.
Just come and ask.
Well, all we got to say is let it go. And then, so it was just like, sorry, I cracked myself up apparently.
Always you do.
So I think it would be like how to be a human class. We would just call it humanity. But yeah, humanity 101.
I like
But
it.
I also think we really do need to bring back life skills classes. Like they need to be back in the curriculum, like the old home ec, like learn how to cook, learn how to do laundry.
So
the amount of people that don't know how to like put something in a laundry machine when they go to college is unreal.
it's scary. I also think, again, we're parents, so I don't want parents to feel like we're parent shaming, but I also think parents do so much for their kids now. You know, I just had a parent meeting with one of my casts for this show that I'm working on right now. And I told them, and they're younger, they're 7th, 8th, 9th grade. I told all the parents, I'm sitting there, I said, I want your kid to email me. I don't want you to email me. They can copy you on the email, but your 7th grade child, if they're at this school, should know how to communicate. If they're not going to make it to rehearsal, if they have a question, and if they don't want to email, they they go to school here, they can come into my office and have a discussion with me. But so many of them are used to, okay, mom, okay, dad, can you just do, and they just do it. Right. Even Sebastian,
Yeah.
he wanted to know how he could get extra credit in music last year. And I was like, well, ask Miss Bush. He's like, well, you ask her. I'm like, absolutely not. He was like, what?
Yeah.
I said, no, if you want extra credit, you ask Miss Bush.
You can,
well, can you do it for me? Absolutely not. Like, I'm not, am I going to get extra credit?
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's how you do it. And I walked him through it. You can have this conversation with her. Here's what you say. You can email her and I'll sit with you while you write the email, but I'm not going to do it for you. And I think that's it. Kids don't know how to cook. They don't know how to do their laundry. They don't know how to have conversations. They don't know how to write a good email because parents or someone has always just stepped in to help them. And I think that balance as a parent is like goals, right? Like that. I was just having a great conversation with my close girlfriends about it, like chores and expectations. And I know we've talked about that, but it's the same with school. It's the same thing. Like if you don't have your kid, I don't know. You gotta hold their hand and also let it go.
I think there's an interesting balance. Yes, exactly. I think just like what you did, you didn't just end it with either doing it or saying goodbye, go figure it out. You're like, I will help you form this email. Here's some options of how to accomplish it. Same thing with laundry. You don't have to do your laundry all the time to learn how to do laundry.
Sure.
Maybe if like you're really busy, like your mom can do your laundry all the time, but you need to know how to do it. Maybe you do a load every so often, or at least do it with her sometimes, or whatever, you know. Like
that's exactly how we do it. Like we do the laundry most of the time, but if I were to ask Sebastian to do a load of laundry, he 100% could do a load of laundry because he knows how he's had to do it. He knows how to sort it. He knows how to put the soap in.
Yeah.
He knows. And I actually think that is a really great balance. Same with dishes, same with cooking, same with cleaning. Like I get it. But
I mean, I've seen both extremes where somebody just does everything and goes off to college and literally doesn't know how to use a Swiffer. Literally, there's a story. And then the opposite where I've had them. They're like, well, you're in high school. You can do everything. You can do your cooking. You can do your cleaning. Like, and I'm like, no. I disagree with both of those. But like,
I think happy medium is a really great way. Yeah.
Yeah. So
but we don't have, I mean, there's no home ec class at our school. Now, I do know that some public high schools still have it. Some do.
But it should be required.
I met a lady.
If they want to talk about all of the requirements they have for graduation, like everyone should have to take it. Everyone should have to take
totally agree.
Cooking,
I totally agree.
Cleaning,
sewing. I think people should learn how to sew.
Sewing. Yes.
Budgeting. Like you don't have to make a dress. Learn how to sew a button.
No.
How to, you know, Cooking. I mean, I think cooking for sure. Even as simple like, it's odd to me. I wonder like if you pulled education systems, like where do you think they're going to learn those skills if we don't offer it? Where is that going to come from? You know what I mean? Even
I think come from the parents.
I love the babysitting course they offer. Like usually it's through like the city. Alyssa, my oldest, took the babysitting course when she was younger. And I remember I'm like, oh my gosh, every 13-year-old should take this class. It talks about basic first aid and safety. It teaches you how to do CPR. It teaches you, I'm like, what? That's the kind of stuff people should know how to do.
Yeah.
Like that would be a great part. Now I know they take health in high school and I think some of that might be covered in there. But like the home ec stuff is not offered at a lot of schools anymore.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, when we revamp the entire education system, Charna, we will put
if I had $1 for every time one of us said, when we're in charge, then I'd be a millionaire and then I could be in charge.
Gosh.
Oh, man.
I just want that to be true.
Well, we'll have to do a follow-up to this episode, Christopher, when changes are made. Like we'll have to do like a year follow-up or a 2-year follow-up and be like, what's changed with testing and with school schedules? Like hopefully something has in a couple of years, but
I was like, we'll be dead. So anyway, on that note.
Wow, that was morbid.
Yeah, we'll take over the world, Charna. It's cool.
I mean, people better be ready.
Yeah, they better buckle up. So anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. And like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Charnopher Official. Check out uncommonpod.com. Just say hi to us, learn more about us, get some merch. And on that note, Charnopher out.
Ooh, look at my nails. Can you see them?
Ooh, I can't, but oh yeah, now I can. I
They
saw
look
them
fun.
before.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.